This is African American History is American History. One of the first women of any race to run a baseball team was Effa Louise Manley. Along with her husband Abe Manley, she co-owned the Newark Eagles baseball franchise in the Negro Leagues from 1935 to 1948. Off the field, Effa Manley was a well-known civil rights advocate, frequently leveraging the Eagles' influence to promote charitable causes, equality boycotts, anti-lynching activism, and social services for black servicemen during World War II. She married Abe Manley in 1935 after meeting him at a New York Yankees game, and he involved her extensively in the operation of his own club, the Newark Eagles in Newark, New Jersey. She displayed particular skill in the area of marketing and often scheduled promotions that advanced the civil rights movement. Her most noteworthy success was the Eagles' victory in the Negro World Series in 1946. New York City Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia threw out the first pitch. She worked to improve the conditions of the players in the entire league. She advocated better scheduling, pay, and accommodations. Her players traveled in an air-conditioned bus, considered quite extravagant for the Negro Leagues. She took over day-to-day business operations of the team, arranged playing schedules, planned the team's travel, managed and met the payroll, bought the equipment, negotiated contracts, and handled publicity and promotions. Well before the modern civil rights movement, Effa Manley supported the Don't Buy Where You Can't Work boycotts. As part of her work for the Citizens League for Fair Play, Manley organized a 1934 boycott of stores that refused to hire black sales clerks. After 6 weeks, the owners of Bloomstein's department store gave in, and by the end of 1935, some 300 stores on 125th Street in Harlem employed black clerks. Manley was also the treasurer of the Newark chapter of the NAACP and often used Eagles games to promote civic causes. In 1939, she held an anti-lynching day at Rupert Stadium, selling buttons that read, "Stop Lynching," to support efforts to pass federal anti-lynching legislation. During World War II, she arranged for entertainers to perform for segregated black troops stationed at Fort Dix in New Jersey when they were barred from segregated USO clubs and canteens. The Booker T. Washington Community Hospital, which offered training for black doctors and nurses, opened due in large part to money raised from the Newark Eagles.
People say, don't live in the past. But I guess it depends on how interesting your past is.
This is African American History is American History. Effa Manley was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, March 28, 1897. In 1916, she graduated from Penn Central High School, completing vocational training there in cooking, oral expression, and sewing. After graduation, Manley moved to New York City, where she lived in Harlem and entered the hat-making business. Manley's racial background is not completely known. The racial background of Manley's mother, Bertha Cole Brooks, is contested, but she was raised by her black stepfather and her mother. Most books say Bertha was German. Effa claimed her maternal grandfather was Native American. Bertha Cole Brooks is listed as black on many census and documents. This could have been due to census takers' biases. However, no African ancestry has been proven conclusively. Now, most assumed Manley's stepfather was her biological father and therefore classified her as black. However, according to the book The Most Famous Woman in Baseball by Bob Luke, Effa Manley was born through an extramarital union between her seamstress mother, Bertha Ford Brooks, and Bertha's white employer, Philadelphia stockbroker John Marcus Bishop. Darrell Russell Grigsby wrote, quote, "Some insist she was a white woman, exposed to black culture, who identified as black. Regardless of her ethnic origins, Effa Manley thought of herself as a black woman and was perceived by all who knew her as just that." End quote. Author Ted Schwartz wrote, quote, "She was a white woman who passed as a black. She could stay in any hotel she desired." End quote. In an interview she gave, she seemed to enjoy the confusion her skin color created. She related a story of when her husband, Abe Manley, took her to Tiffany's in New York for an engagement ring.
I got a kick out of how every sales girl in that store was on hand to get a glimpse of this old Negro man buying this young white girl a 5-carat ring.
This is African American History is American History. Among the Eagles players during her ownership were future Major League stars, such as Larry Doby, who in 1947 was the first player to integrate the American League, Monty Irvin, and Don Newcombe. In an exhibit honoring the Negro Leagues at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, there is a banner given to the team by the Newark Student Camp Fund in recognition of their efforts to help the community. Manley was critical of Brooklyn Dodgers executive Branch Rickey, who signed Jackie Robinson to a minor league contract in 1945. She felt Negro League teams were justified in requesting compensation for players who were signed to major league contracts. Cleveland Indians owner Bill Veeck did pay her $10,000 compensation for Doby's contract, with another $5,000 when he stayed on the Indians roster. Manley was also critical of Negro League fans who supported Rickey because they felt he was integrating the major leagues due to civil rights causes, rather than a business opportunity being his motivation. She also was critical of Robinson when he talked of the disorganization of the Negro Leagues, asking him not to forget his beginnings and the contributions the Negro Leagues had made to the game of baseball. The Eagles worked especially hard for groups that promoted the welfare of Newark's black population. Because of Effa Manley, the Newark Eagles were as important to black Newark as the Dodgers were to Brooklyn. This is African American History is American History. By the spring of 1981, Manley's health had deteriorated to the point where she could no longer live in her apartment. She moved into a rest home run by former Negro League player Quincy Troop. Manley told Troop that she would go to the hospital to get checked out. She had cancer of the colon, which progressed into peritonitis. Effa Louise Manley had a heart attack and died on April 16, 1981, having never returned to the rest home. She was 84 years old. She died just 4 days after her sports idol, boxer Joe Louis, who had been one of the most influential black athletes of his time. She was buried in Culver City, California, at the Holy Cross Cemetery. In 2006, she posthumously became the first, and as of September 2024, the only woman inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. This has been African American History is American History. The episode you've been listening to, The Effa Manley Story, was written and directed by Harlan Kearsley. The voice actor for this episode was Kim Bay as Effa Manley. I'm Harlan Kearsley, and on behalf of everyone here at African American History is American History, thank you for listening. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe. Once you do, you'll be notified as soon as new episodes are posted. Thanks again, and please stay safe. African American History is American History. Copyright H.C. Kearsley, 2024.